Welcome back, everyone. This is part 2 on what if Asta starting to have feelings for Noelle. I do not own Black Clover or any of the characters in this video. Chapter 2. Later on in the day, Vanessa, Asta, Noelle, Finral, Zora, and finally Charmy were all getting ready to head out on their mission. Right? I'm all set. Are you guys ready? Asta exclaimed in his usual tone as he stopped next to the front door, as a few others lined up close behind him. I don't know why you're at the front when I'm the one who is taking us to the capital, Finral questioned in his nonchalant voice as he walked up to the door as well. Oh yeah, my bad, Finral senpai, Asta shouted apologetically as he moved back, accidentally pushing into Vanessa, who was slightly behind him. Sorry, Vanessa. I wasn't looking where I was go, Asta once again apologized before he became completely silent midway as Vanessa leaned over to Asta's ear and whispered, "It's okay, you were probably just too distracted thinking about the eyeful you got of Noelle earlier." Vanessa then smirked as she leaned away, with many of the members that were there looking quite baffled, wondering what actually made Asta go quiet for once. But Zora was in quite the opposite of confusion, as now he had leverage, as due to his and Asta's earlier conflict, he had placed traps on both Asta and Noelle and wanting to get them back, but with his recently new developed magic he could hear them through the trap. Zora quietly chuckled to himself before he joined the back of the small line. "Are we going yet or what?" Zora questioned Finral, to which he simply responded by opening up one of his portals and then pointing his palm towards it. Finally, Zora shouted as he made his way into the portal first, to which Charmy and then Asta silently followed. "You better not have told him anything." Vanessa I Noelle started to question Vanessa, slightly angrily and embarrassed before being cut off by, "No, don't worry about it. I just teased him about his staring earlier." Vanessa replied as her and Noelle also made their way through the portal. "I wonder what pretty lady I'll meet today." "No, Finral. You must not succumb. Miss Finesse is the only one for you." Finral fought with himself before also making his way through his portal and it closing behind him. "How we ever get a mission done I will never know, but I am suspicious of their mission," Yami stated as he took another puff of his cigarette and watched the portal close behind the group that headed out. "What do you mean, Captain Yami?" Magna asked curiously, assuming it was just another normal fetch or hunt mission. There wasn't a description for the mission, it was just to meet up with Golden Dawn members and head to a location. "It's very unusual that we'd get a mission without proper instruction on what it was, hence why I send a lot of them in case they get into trouble." Yami explained his confusion before taking another puff of smoke and then getting up off of his chair and heading towards the bathroom. "But for now, there is about to be a war," Yami exclaimed as he left the room, being all too proud of his shits as usual in the capital. The streets were jam-packed full of royals and middle-class people, all spending amounts of money that both Asta or Zora have never had their hands on. "Where are we meant to meet the Golden Dawn then, La?" Charmy asked as she stuffed her face full of food. Asta and Noelle both got a shock, having not known that the Golden Dawn would be on this mission, but both of their reactions being completely different from one another. Noelle sighed at the realization that Mimosa, her technical rival over Asta, would be there, and Asta's eyes turned to stars of complete excitement. "It should just be a few streets away," Finral replied as he pointed right of the street they were already in before starting to walk towards where he had just pointed, with the rest of the group following not far behind, with Noelle and Vanessa being right at the back of the line. "Well, now that you're a bit more calm about the whole thing, you have probably an even chance now." Vanessa quietly spoke to Noelle, referring to her and Mimosa. Further in front of the line, Zora thought to himself, "Wonder what the alcoholic and royal bitch are talking about." Zora then stopped for a second as he looked down a street they were passing, before walking off on his own without saying anything. But Charmy quickly noticed. "Where do you think you're going?" Charmy questioned, before receiving a simple middle finger from Zora and then him continuing to walk off. "Oh well, we don't need that idiot. We can do this mission ourselves, La," Charmy stated before continuing to walk alongside Asta, whose eyes were still gleaming at the thought of seeing his rival. "Asta, do ever stop thinking about that golden boy?" Noelle asked, walking a little faster to get closer to Asta. How did you know I was thinking about Asta exclaimed, as dumb as ever. "He is literally the person you completely obsess about all the time," Noelle responded, looking at Asta with, instead of her normal sulk or angered at his stupidity kind of face, a smile. Asta was confused at her unusual expression, but Vanessa was happy to see Noelle start to show her true self more so quickly. "Stop," a man shouted at them suddenly. The group, confused, looked slightly a bit ahead to see a tall young man wearing a purple orcus robe over his shoulders stood with his hands behind his back staring at the black bulls. Sorry, is there a problem? We're kind of on a mission, Finral questioned the man, curious to why the purple orcus were there. I'm sorry, but you cannot go further down the street for now as a very serious incident has happened. What happened? How serious? Finral questioned him again. It must be pretty serious to ward off a full part of the street. Finral thought to himself as the other members looked at the man with slight concern. It's very serious. 2 magic knights have been brutally killed and sprawled out in a main alleyway in this part of the street, but we have no idea who could have done it just yet or why. I'm sorry, but you'll have to go another way around. Oh, and if you notice anything suspicious, please let us know. The man replied with a slightly sorrow tone and his hands shaking like crazy. Okay, hope you get the guy. We'll keep an eye out for anything weird. But what do you mean that they were brutally killed? Finral asked again, even more curious now. As well as the rest of the group being just as curious. I'll tell you, but you might want to cover the kids' ears. The man answered, looking down at Charmy, who had just stopped eating. I'm not a kid. I'm over 20. La. Charmy angrily shouted, before pouting, looking away and then starting to eat even more. Oh, I am so sorry. But anyway, let me continue. He paused to take a deep breath before continuing. The backs of the 2 knights were on full display with their chest against the wall and seemed to have been tortured when they were still alive. They also had their throats cut. The man gulped as he looked down in a state of fear and disgust. Anyway, you should probably go for your mission now. Goodbye. The man spoke once again before heading away from the place he was guarding, probably to throw up from the horrific scene he had just described. As the black bulls started to walk down a different street, silence hit them all for a short while as if to pay respects to the unknown fallen magic knights before Asta spoke up. Guys, that was horrible, and that's an understatement, but we can't let this get us down. And if we're like this the whole mission, we'll be distracted and depressed all day. So let's just ignore it for now, okay? This statement seemed to light up the rest of the squad there, and they all became a lot more cheered up, and they eventually, after the longest 5 minutes of gloom ever, got back to their usual selves, except, of course, Noelle, whose true personality was showing more and more to the rest of their squad. After a little while longer of walking, they finally made their way to where the Golden Dawn members would be meeting them and, to no surprise, they were already there waiting against a small brick wall in front of them. Yun, shut up, Asta. Asta began to scream his rival's name before Yuno interjected, shutting up his ridiculously loud voice. Mimosa, Noelle said in a somewhat colder tone. Noelle, Mimosa responded in the same way as their eyes locked with jealousy. Klaus also then waved at the group from a little bit behind Yuno and Mimosa, but there was also another member there who they had not seen before. This is Jace, a royal. He's a new member of the Golden Dawn. He's so talented he managed to get in even though he is only 14. Klaus introduced him to the Black Bulls, who were very clearly a bit curious to who he was. Hi, nice to meet you. All. Jace spoke in a shy manner while looking down at the ground. Nice to meet you too. I'm Asta, and this is some of our squad. Asta exclaimed while putting his hand out to shake his. Well, that's enough for introductions. Let's get going and see what this mission is all about. Yeah. Finral and Yuno both stated as they started making their way down the street towards the building they were meant to go to for their mission. Well, speaking of the mission, do you guys have any idea what it's about either? Charmy asked, feeling off about the whole mission and then following after them. We didn't get told either, so let's be cautious and try our best. Mimosa said loudly with enhanced confidence due to Asta being there, but being quite annoyed as well due to Noelle being so close to Asta instead of her. They then turned yet another street, and as they made their way down it, the entire atmosphere seemed to darken, and there was no sign of anyone being close by, nor had there been for the previous street. As brave as she was, Noelle still became quite a bit creeped out by it, and subconsciously, without realizing, locked her arms around Asta's arm. Asta and Vanessa noticed, making Vanessa smirk and Asta blush a lot, yet staying quiet as he had no idea what to say. A little while later, Noelle then realized what she had been doing, but instead of the usual royal statement and water hit Asta would have gotten, she went red at first but steeled herself, and simply whispered thanks before letting go. Hearing a little giggle from behind, Noelle went completely rose red from realizing what else she had just done and that Vanessa had saw that. In a state of panic, she quickly but quietly rushed back to Vanessa. Meanwhile, Asta was in a state of total confusion. What just? Wait, so she doesn't hate me? No. She must, otherwise I am so confused. Asta thought to himself, still not being able to pick up the clear hint she just gave him. Then he just gave up even trying to think about it, knowing if he tried to think too hard he'd end up passing out. After passing a couple more streets in near enough silence, they finally found the building they were looking for. It was a large cathedral with its wooden supports heavily rotted and moss growing inwards from the side of it. The glass was practically a brick wall with how dirty it was, and there were also many cracks in them. The walls were stone and gray with little pieces of itself crumbling, creating and leading to larger cracks, and the double door was a dark oak wood with one of the doorknobs missing from it and cracks running all through it as well. This is where the mission is. Klaus asked, hoping for this not to be the actual place. Unfortunately it is, Finral replied, inspecting the ruined building. And here I thought I was going to see some beautiful ladies. No, Finral, your heart belongs to Miss Finesse. Finral internally argued with himself as he did. This place is creepy as hell, Noelle commented, saying what was on basically on all of their minds except Asta, who as they were small talking had already opened the door and started to enter the cathedral. What are you doing, Asta? You'll end up getting killed if you're being so carefree, bluntly stated as he started walking forward. But we should get a move on anyway, he finished as the others hesitantly followed them in. The entire room was empty. No seats, no candles, no stand or stage, completely desolate, like no one had been here for decades. This place is practically untouched. What are we even doing here? Asta questioned before all of a sudden. Dark magic. Dark chains of steel. Countless amounts of steel chains covered in pitch black. Darkness came out of the ground beneath them, restricting all of their hands and legs from even moving an inch. The group then turned around to see Jays with his grimoire active and him ripping off his golden dawn robe. What are you doing, Jays? Release us at once, Klaus shouted with confusion, as he was the one who, for the past few months, had been training with him and showing him the ropes of being a magic knight. You're all meant to be such great magic knights, yet you're all tricked so damn easily. It's actually laughable, Jays exclaimed with a maniacal smile on his face, as he closed the doors behind him so that there was barely any light in there at all except from the odd shine through the window and the dim light coming off of his active grimoire. You do realize that this is an 8-on-1 situation. You probably won't win this, shouted with confidence in their abilities. Ahahahaha. Did you really think I would try to take you all down by myself, you idiots? Why don't you try looking up and say what you see? Jace shouted as he almost cried with laughter. The group did as he said, and when they looked up they saw 7 cloaked people hanging from the rusted metals of the old chandeliers. So yeah, when you put it like that, it's more of an 8-on-8. Ain't that right, golden boy? Jace shouted as he came closer and tapped Yuno's forehead. Oh, what I wouldn't give to make you all scray. Jace began to state his fantasy before being interrupted by one of the cloaked figures above them, who then just jumped down next to Jace. That's enough. Anyway, sorry for my friend's behavior, he's a bit uncontrollable. My name's Lara and this is my crew, Lara stated as she moved forward to shake their hands. Oh, my bad, I forgot, hee. She smirked as she then backed up a few steps. What the hell do you people want? Asta exclaimed, getting angry at the sight of them taunting them, and oh well, it's really quite simple. To cause as much suffering as possible, hee. Lara replied with a calm yet creepy smile on her face. Lara then undid the black cloak that was covering her face to reveal long violet, luscious hair and a pair of bright red pupils. So, what did you think, boys? Lara stated in a seductive voice, staring straight at Yuno and Finral with a smirk on her face. She could tell straight away that Yuno wouldn't give in to such a temptation due to his near emotionless behavior. But Finral, on the other hand, was very obviously trying to look away. Think of Miss Finesse. Think off Miss Finesse. Think of me. Well, what do we have here? A perverta? Finral was lost in thought, trying his best to avoid his curse of temptation before Lara came right in front of him, bending over slightly so that Finral had a clear shot of her cleavage. No, I'm not. Especially for someone as disgusting as you. Finral steeled himself and then spat, against his better judgment, right in her face. Oh ho, well then Jays, undo his chains to the ground but keep him tied and bring him here so they can all see now. Lara ordered, to which Jays followed her command exactly and very quickly. If you lay a finger on Finral, I'll kill you, Asta shouted with anger pooling in his heart. I'd like to see you try, Asta, Lara replied while smirking before then taking out a razor-sharp blade from behind her back. Now then, what should I do to him first? She questioned rhetorically before putting the blade to Finral's mouth. Meanwhile, Zora had been looking for supplies while listening in. Using his magic, he had placed on Asta and Noelle, and was starting to hear the recent events unfold. At first, Zora went about his usual business, assuming that they would be able to handle it. But when he heard about them doing something to Finral, his mind quickly changed, knowing his squad was in actual danger. Not that he could care for the royal, but the rest were decent enough people in Zora's book. He then rushed over to where the mission area was and quietly peered in from a crack in the windows to see what was happening. I need to think of something fast, even if it's just to free one of them. That'll do, Zora thought to himself in a panic. Then, like a light bulb turning on, he had an idea, a ridiculously dangerous one, that if he failed they would probably all die, but an idea at that. Zora barged in through the front door and straight into Jays, who was positioned right in front of it, sending him flying to the ground and skidding across the room, making his magic start to dissipate and weaken so that they could all get freed. Thanks, Zora. Now this feels a lot more fair, Vanessa shouted before immediately being interrupted by, but I still have him, you dumbasses. Lara shouted before lowering her blade down to Finral's neck before a flash came straight to her eyes as Yuno in his spirit assimilation form dashed right to her, knocking her out of the way immediately. Thanks, Yuno, Finral shouted before all of them got in a lineup together, with Asta, Noelle and Yuno all in their retrospective forms and the rest all alongside them with their grimoires active. Opposite them, Lara, Jays and the other unnamed members of her crew had all also lined up, with their grimoires active as well. Well, now it's even, Asta shouted before they all locked eyes with their opposites and then charged at each other. After only a few minutes of fighting, they each had cut each other up quite badly, even with those in their forms, and the entire cathedral was practically reduced to rubble. Unluckily for them, Asta and the others were fighting a losing battle, and both Lara, Jays and one other unknown assailant were all still fighting heavily with all of their other forces knocked down, and on the other hand, practically all of them had near all of their mana depleted, with only Asta and Noelle left standing. Everyone else was down for the count, and it was an uneven playing field. With the mess we've made, we should probably get going, but it wouldn't be fun unless we took one person out, Lara explained before continuing. Jays, choose someone and bring them here to kill them now. Jays did exactly that, and in one swift movement dashed and picked up Noelle, who was on the verge of collapsing, and brought her straight to Lara. Don't you dare, Asta shouted as he tried to keep his balance. Hee, too late. Jays then moved his nail wrapped in dark magic straight to Noelle's neck, but before he could even touch her skin, not a chance. Asta appeared right in front of him with insane speed and launched him sky high before grabbing Noelle in his arms and bringing her back over to their side. Never mind then, Jays was always a weakling anyway. Let's go, Lara demanded before they both teleported away to thin air before all of a sudden, after putting Noelle in a safe spot next to Vanessa, Asta passed out. Asta awoke in his own room with Noelle, Vanessa and Yuno all peering over him smiling. I'm glad you're okay, dwarf, Yuno slyly stated. Thank you, Asta. If it wasn't for you, who knows what might have happened to me. Noelle smiled. No problem, Noelle, anytime, Asta said while smiling back. Noelle, thanking me? And twice in a day? What the hell is going on? I thought for sure she hated me, Asta thought before stopping, knowing his brain would overload if he tried to think about it too much. Are you going to lie there all day or what? Yami said, standing in the doorway and smoking his cigarette. I heard about what happened, and before you ask some annoying question, Siscolian and Brogolian are hunting them down, so don't worry about it, Yami added, referring to Marioliona and Fugelian, before walking in the door. Is everyone else alright? Asta asked worryingly. Yeah, they're fine. Some still have a headache, but apart from they're all good, and they're waiting downstairs, Yami replied. Asta then pulled himself up off his bed and onto his feet. I'm starving. Mind if we go down? Asta asked politely as he walked towards the door. let's go, they replied before heading out, but as Asta walked out the door he fell to the floor only for Yami to grab him by his shirt on his way down without falling over, preferably, said before they made their way downstairs. As they entered the main room, Asta fell once again due to his lack of balance from a head injury he sustained throughout the fight. Mimosa came over and grabbed Asta, pulling him up into a hug. But because of him already falling, his head had landed into Mimosa's bust, making Asta blush madly and Noelle go red with anger from seeing her do that. I'm glad you're okay, Asta, Mimosa said with a smile as Asta regained his balance. Yeah, thanks, Asta replied while completely red. An awkward silence passed through them for a moment before Charmy grabbed and led Asta to the dinner table with her food ready and all set out for everyone, including those from the Golden Dawn. Thanks, Charmy senpai, Asta thanked as he took his seat, which had changed due to there being a lot more people at the table this time. His new seat was in between Noelle and Mimosa. Asta remained calm on the outside as he ate his food a lot slower than usual due to his injuries. But on the inside he was starting to panic quite a bit. On one side I have the girl whose boobs I just fell face first into, and on the other I have the girl I like but might hate me. Just stay calm, Asta, you'll be fine, Asta thought to himself as he tried to remain as calm as possible. Meanwhile, on one side of Asta, Noelle was seething with anger from Mimosa doing that, and on the other side of Asta, Mimosa was gleaming with happiness that she got Asta in her boobs, even if it wasn't like that, and happy that she got one up on her cousin. Time passed and eventually they all finished their food, except Charmy, who had kept refilling her plate every time she had finished eating. Well then, I'm going try. No, you're not, Asta began to speak before being stopped and cut off by Yami, who had then grabbed his head. If you go to train now, you'll just make your injuries worse, Yami stated. But you're making my injuries worse right now, Captain Yami, Asta strained to say as his head got squeezed a lot harder. What was that? Yami said in a terrifying voice, giving Asta a death stare. Nothing, Captain Yami, Asta replied, hoping not to die. Asta then went and sat in one of the seats near the corner of the room, which had enough room for one more person next to him. You should probably go sit next to him before she gets the chance, just saying, Vanessa stated as she took another sip out of her bottle of wine. I know, but what if he shut up and go now? Otherwise it might end up too late for you if she keeps making obvious moves like that. Noelle went to start worrying before Vanessa cutting her off. Okay, you're right, I will, it's just, well, you know what it's like, Noelle said as she got out of her. I know, don't worry. And hey, I'm always right, Vanessa stated while smirking. When barely anyone was looking, Noelle made her way over to where Asta was sitting. But as she walked over she felt Mimosa's gaze of anger hit her as she walked over. Noelle decided not to back down and continued towards Asta. I guess this is revenge for earlier, Mimosa. You snooze you lose, Noelle thought to herself before she was already standing over Asta's seat. Mind if I join you? Noelle asked, making Asta look up. Yeah, sure, Noelle, Asta said, smiling. Seriously though, Asta, thank you for saving me in that fight. Noelle thanked Asta again as she sat down next to him. Don't worry about it. But Noelle, can I ask you something? Asta replied as he looked down. Yeah, sure. What's up? Noelle replied worryingly. Do you hate me, Noelle? Because you always used to act like it, but now you're totally nice, Asta asked as he thought in his head, if she doesn't actually hate me, maybe I could try and know. She's a royal and you're a commoner, it would never happen even if she didn't hate you. No, not at all, you idiotsta. It's just because I always felt I had to keep up the stigma of being a royal, no matter what my true feelings actually were. That's all. Sorry if I made you feel like that, Noelle explained, knowing she could definitely trust Asta. Asta's face then lit up at hearing her say that. Good, I'm glad. Do you want to go out for a bit? Maybe? It's just really warm, so we could go get some fresh air, Asta asked very shyly, but Noelle paid no attention to his tone about it, assuming that, being Asta, he was way too dense to mean it like that. Asta, what the hell are you doing? Stop and think, Asta thought to himself before Noelle replied. Yeah, why not? Let's sneak out though. 'Cause you know what these guys are like. Noelle accepted while hoping to not arise any rumors, or to have her technical rival see. Okay, let's go now then while they're drinking, so they don't see us, Asta stated as he made his way through the nearest door with Noelle not far behind him, but without them knowing two people had seen them sneak out. The first being Vanessa, who already had her eye on Noelle anyway, and the second, Zora, who hadn't been listening in, but had coincidentally seen them leave the room together. They exited out the back door, being careful as to close it quietly so no one would hear them leave. As they left the base, the cool night breeze cooled them off. Look, I know we just came out here to cool off, but do you want to go do something? Even if it's just chatting for a bit, 'cause they are so loud in there. Asta questioned, hoping to spend more time with Noelle. Yeah, sure. Where should we go though? Noelle accepted, making Asta gleam. I have an idea on where to go if you want. Asta asked once again. Yes, let's go. Noelle answered excitedly, also wanting to spend time with Asta. Follow me, Asta stated before dashing through towards the woods next to the base with Noelle following behind. So, where is it? Noelle questioned as they made their way through the woods. It's a spot I found while training. It's really peaceful, Asta said excitedly, as he thought in his head, what the hell are you doing, Asta? Soon they entered a large grass-covered clearing that was close to a steep cliff with a perfect view of the night sky. It's beautiful, isn't it? Noelle stated as she sat down on the cool bed of grass. It sure is. So what do you wanna talk about? Asta asked as he lay down, completely unsure of where to go from here. Let's just say what we really feel of all our friends maybe, Noelle suggested as she lay back and faced Asta. The two then made their way through all the people they had met since they joined the Black Bulls all those years ago for a little while before they got close to saying what they thought of each other. Zora, Asta said before both of them shouted prick in sync with each other before having a good laugh. At the time, Zora had started to listen in on their conversation with his magic, making him thinking to himself, those little fucking brats, before letting out a chi-chi. During the time that Asta and Noelle had been talking, they had subconsciously gotten a lot closer to each other on the grass to the point where their noses were almost touching. Now it's us, Asta said nervously. Which of us should go first? Noelle asked just as nervously. They both took a moment of silence to steel themselves to say their actual feelings. They'd been honest about everyone else, so it was only fair they were honest with each other. I'll go first, Asta stated while near having a heart attack. He gulped in preparation. I've thought that you're awesome and pretty from the day that I met you when we both joined this squad. I always considered you one of my closest friends, except even though I thought you hated me. And for quite a while now, I think I kind of like you. Like a lot. Asta looked slightly away for a moment while he blushed, and then turned back. Silence engulfed them, and without saying another word between them, they both pushed forwards with their eyes closed. Before locking their lips with each other's, they had kissed and kept kissing for a good 5 or 6 seconds. They then both opened their eyes and pulled away, before going insanely red from the realization of what they had just done. They both jumped up onto their feet and looked at each other for a moment. They tried to speak, but only mumbles and half words come out of their mouths. Both of them being more flustered than ever before, they decided to run off in opposite direction, with Noelle running in the direction of the base and Asta running in the complete opposite direction. Only one thought rushed through both their heads as they sprinted away. What the fuck did I just do? During the time they had been talking, the rest of the group had gotten pissed of their heads, including the members from the other squad. Hey, where's Asta and Noelle? Asked while fumbling his words due to being so drunk. I think they went up to bed earlier. Noelle did say she was quite tired before. Vanessa answered, covering for her close friend. Mimosa thought to herself suspicions of Asta and Noelle, but she was too drunk to actually focus on them. You drunken liar. Zora then muttered to himself while in the corner of the room. All of a sudden his eyes widened in shock at what he was hearing. Asta had just confessed, and to add to his surprise he had just heard kissing sound. Not long after it. Oh, you can bet I'm gonna use that to my advantage, Zora thought to himself with an evil grin on his face. A little while after everyone had either passed out on the downstairs furniture or had went up to their rooms to sleep, or just chill, Noelle burst in the door in a panic and quickly shut it behind her. Luckily everyone was out cold downstairs and hadn't woke up, but she needed to get this off her chest, so she rushed up to Vanessa's room and entered it as quick as possible before locking it behind her. Noelle, you okay? What's the matter? Vanessa asked worryingly, as she'd never seen Noelle more red and flustered, if that was even possible compared to past her. At this time, Asta had also made his way back and entered the base as well. While also in a panic, he ran up to the room of the best and yet worst person to talk to about girls, Finral's room. Asta practically mimicked Noelle's actions in Vanessa's room, to which a worried Finral jumped up and asked, "What's up? What happened?" seeing Asta more nervous than ever. Asta's POV. Asta tried to explain but no words came out of his mouth. Right, Asta, just sit down, take a drink and take a deep breath. Then we'll talk, Finral instructed the almost shaking Asta. He did what was asked and sat on Finral's bed while Finral used his spatial magic to get him a glass of water from downstairs. Asta took a deep breath after taking a sip water. Right, now what happened to make the loud as hell Asta so nervous? Finral asked as he sat back down on his bed next to Asta, curious about his unusual behavior. Well, you know what? It doesn't matter, Goodney. No you don't. Explain right now. Asta tried to escape out of explaining before Finral teleported him right back to the bed with his magic. Fine, well I kind of maybe. Kiss Noelle, Asta explained, his heart racing. As he did. Holy shit. Well done, man. Why are you so worried for? Finral asked, confused as to why he would become such a nervous wreck from it. Basically, we were hanging out in the forest to cool off and we started talking about random stuff and we got into a conversation about our honest feelings, and then I ended up saying that I like her a lot and I didn't even give her chance to say anything and we kissed and stayed like that for seconds. But what if she didn't want that? If she didn't hate me before, she will now. And what if she says I assaulted Asta? Calm the fuck down, Asta started ranting while walking around the room, increasing his own panic by the second before Finral stopped him by grabbing his shoulder and interrupting him. Dude, she's not gonna hate you and she is definitely not gonna say that. She was probably just as flustered as you. Or worst case scenario, she didn't want that and all you need to do is apologize to her tomorrow and she'll be fine with it, okay? Finral explained, getting rid of most of Asta's worries. Okay, I will. Asta stated as confident as he could. Noelle's POV. Wait, he confessed to you. Then what happened? Vanessa asked both excitedly and curiously after hearing the first part of what happened. And then we kissed, Noelle explained while gripping her legs and looking away. Oh my god, look at you go. Vanessa almost shouted from how happy she was for her girl best friend. Yeah, but I didn't get to tell him how I really feel. And even if it is really good, what the hell do I do now? I'm so happy that I can hardly sit still. Yet I'm so nervous that I can barely breathe. Noelle asked with worry ingrained in her voice. Look, Noelle, I'm no expert when it comes to this kind of stuff, but the best thing to try and do is just talk to him and work it out between the two of you. Vanessa tried her best to give some advice, but she was almost as clueless as Noelle when it came to sorting things out or relationship stuff. Thanks, Vanessa. I really don't know what I'd do without you. Noelle thanked Vanessa with a smile on her face before reaching out to give her a hug. It's no problem. I'm always here for you, Vanessa said while returning her hug. Oh, and that reminds me, here, take this sex magazine just in case anything happens tomorrow. You know what I mean? Vanessa handed her a small A4 magazine while winking at her. Vanessa, just take it, okay? And go get some rest, you'll need it. Noelle tried to refuse but was forced to accept by Vanessa and then started to leave. Thank you, Vanessa, really. I mean it. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night. Noelle thanked her once again as she unlocked the door and started to leave. Good night, Asta, kiss her. Vanessa teased, but Noelle just ignored and shut the door behind her as she left. Zora's POV. During this time, Zora had been listening in on both their conversations and thought to himself, screw the trap attacking them. I can just use this to make fun of them. But what should I say or do? Zora pondered for a while before an idea popped into his head. That'll work perfectly, just need to wait for the right time to do it. Kekik. He chuckled to himself while thinking of this plan, but he may have to wait a while before he can fully pull it off. End of chapter 2. Before I'm going to end this, I have to warn you. In the next chapter they will be a lemon either way. Link down to the description if you want to read the rest of the story. I hope you all enjoy. Goodbye.